There's a new brewery in Hastings, and it's become a central hub for the locals.
Once you drink enough beer, then you just get your own reserved seat. It's like my own personal Cheers in here.
You want people to feel like they're at home. I mean, that's important.
Spiral Brewery just opened last year. It's named after the city's bygone Spiral Bridge. Amy and Jen Fox are sisters-in-law and had an idea for their hometown.
My brother and my sister-in-law and I were hanging out, and we were talking about how much we love Hastings, and we were drinking craft beers. We were thinking, we could probably build a brewery here.
And so they got to work on a business plan, sought out advice, and learned the how-tos of brewing. They found an old building with historic charm. None of them had ever run a business before, but they wanted the brewery to be fun and help build community.
We've talked about it as like a coffee shop, but with beer. One of our good friends and regulars calls it her favorite living room in town.
And it's been a hit with the locals.
Time for a refill.
Time for a refill.
Well, you can come and buy a beer for a friend for their next visit, or you can just buy a beer for whomever.
It's been a really positive effect here for Hastings. They've only been open for less than a year, but we've noticed that people will travel to Hastings specifically to visit Spiral Brewery.
More people coming to Hastings to check out its beer scene means more people spending money. And Barr says that helps everyone.
Just in communicating with the businesses downtown, they're all telling us that their sales are up and their traffic is up. And they're contributing that a lot to do with the new businesses downtown, and especially that microbrewery that's a destination that's bringing people.
It is exploding, and I think it's a really exciting time because it's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs.
Lauren Bennett McGinty says there's now about 170 craft breweries in the state. Her organization works with 85% of them. Minnesota now ranks 13th in the nation in beer production and a $2 billion annual economic impact in the state.
I think greater Minnesota is where those opportunities are. A lot of breweries might not ever want to be your huge scale production brewery that is a Shell's or a Summit, but they want to be big enough where they can satisfy the needs of some local bars, restaurants, and the people in their town. And I think we're seeing a lot more breweries pop up in greater Minnesota because of that.
Craft breweries are now everywhere in the Twin Cities, but the kind we see today didn't even exist 8 years ago. That's because taprooms were illegal, until one man got surly.
These tanks in here are 600-barrel tanks, so they make 1,200 kegs of beer at one time.
Omar Ansari started Surly as a small brewery in Brooklyn Center, but state law wouldn't let him grow.
Breweries were not allowed to sell a customer a pint of beer, so they could sell them a growler to go. They could give them free beer on a tour or if they stopped in, and that was the two things you could do.
He didn't want to just build a bigger brewery. He wanted to have events and to sell beer on tap.
I remember being at the Capitol one day and a representative from Minneapolis had said, Mar, this is the second most talked about bill we have. They're like, that's shocking. And number one was the Viking Stadium.
There was huge opposition, especially from bar owners. But Ansari touted the Taproom bill, or Surly's bill, as a jobs maker, something Minnesota needed in 2011. And he found someone willing to believe in his vision.
Looks like she's right there, right?
Yep, Senator Scheid and Representative Jennifer Loon kind of made it all happen. So, yeah, May 24, 2011 is when it all happened.
Now, Surly employs 350 people and has $40 million in annual sales.
So this is our lightest beer and our darkest beer. We got both ends of the spectrum.
So it's a quiet weeknight at the Chapel Brewery in Dundas, population 1,500. The building used to be a chapel, and they've played up that theme. Co-owner Tracy Vranich says when they first approached the town with a plan for a brewery, officials were eager.
They were looking for small businesses to come. Cannon River is right there, and that we have a view of that from our deck, but there's a water quality issue because you're putting in a parking lot. But those were things like, we want this business here, we want to protect the river, so we'll work with you and we'll figure out what we can do to make this happen.
On this night, a winter running club warmed up with glasses of beer, like a German ale called Kolsch. Mark Polzin of Northfield ran 4 miles and came in from the cold. Polzin says drinking craft beer is a culture shift for him.
It's like wine. You got to develop a taste for some of these beers, I guess. I'm more of just a Mickle and light drinker, but these beers, they have a lot of taste to them, but have one or two of them, and it's very good taste, yes.
He says the brewery gives people a place to go and meet each other. And for rural Minnesota, bringing the community together isn't a bad thing.